The Congress of Vienna is one of the least discussed historical events. However, the impact of this event has profoundly influenced modern society today. The Congress of Vienna was the first modern diplomatic event, and even though there has been previous events of diplomatic environment, the Congress of Vienna was the first instance in which the international community discussed diplomacy and foreign policy. In the following video, we're going to discuss the Congress of Vienna, what it is, what happened during the meetings, and finally, we're going to discuss the consequences of these meetings. Before we begin with this video, if you like political science content and international relations, please subscribe and like the video. In addition, if you have any feedback or suggestions for the next video, be sure to leave it in the comments. I also want to add that I'm recording this video on 4th of July, so if you hear any fireworks in the background, my apologies. The Napoleonic Wars cemented the spread of French revolutionary sentiments around Europe. These sort of revolutionary ideas were detrimental to the European balance of power. Due to this, the four main powers of Europe, Austria, Prussia, Russia, and Great Britain, established the Treaty of Charmant on March 9, 1814, a month before Napoleon's first abdication. In addition, a month after the treaty went into effect, other powers joined it, such as Portugal and Sweden. During the Congress of Vienna, the following orders were established and discussed. Freedom of navigation were established and guaranteed, notably in the Rhine region, making it one of the first Freedom of Navigation acts in history, and one of the first times these notions of freedom of navigation were discussed around the world, since before this, only international powers were able to navigate, since if you were a nation navigating through the Caribbean, there was a high possibility that the Spanish would just invade your ship and steal everything you have. Another subject discussed in the Congress of Vienna was the slave trade, which was condemned for the first time, making these sort of ideas were discussed between people in high positions of power. This is mainly because of the Haitian Revolution. Most of the diplomats in the session agreed with this condemnation. However, the British government and its monarch did not, due to the British still being a colonial power at the time. During the Congress of Vienna, many territories were reclaimed and many others were reestablished. For example, the British, which reassured their control over places such as Tobago, the Dutch East Indies, and Cape Colony in South Africa. However, the biggest territorial change was seen in Europe. For example, the Papal States under the rule of the Pope were re-established, and the King of Sardinia re-established their control over Nice. In addition, Switzerland re-established themselves as a neutrality power. Also, many unions were formed. For example, Belgium signed the 8 Articles of London, which was one of the first unions of its kind. However, the Congress in general was to re-establish all the territorial changes we saw between the 1795 and 1810 period during the Napoleonic Wars, and the dissolvement of the Holy Roman Empire into the 39 states, and 4 of which were free cities. There was still a big problem, because many of them were still under the reign of the King of Austria, which, spoiler alert, was one of the reasons for World War I, meaning that the Congress of Vienna was a major leap forward, but not a perfect meeting. Now, let's look at some of the critiques and praises of the Congress of Vienna. The Congress of Vienna has been critiqued for the ignoring of liberal values, which at the time, even though very unpopular, were growing around the world, specifically after the American and French Revolution, which set the stage for the massive social liberal revolution in the next 200 years. Many people praised the Congress of Vienna because it prevented and avoided war in Europe for 100 years, marking it one of the longest and first times Europe was at peace in modern history. Many people, including Henry Kissinger, coined the Congress of Vienna as the beginning of modern civilization as we know it, since it's the first massive diplomatic meeting and the first time monarchs agree that such things such as human rights exist. The Congress of Vienna also allowed for a smooth transition into World War I. By smooth, I mean that it allowed countries to arm themselves and create alliances and create treaties, which later would be the main reason for the bloodiest war in history. During this period of peace, humans saw the biggest leap forward in technology, but also in human rights. Life as we know it today was established in the Congress of Vienna. Before this, not many people attended universities. Civil wars and citizens claiming control over the states were not common. Rights and respect between nations wasn't common either. The Congress of Vienna, in conclusion, although it provided a great period of peace and evolution in Europe, it failed to stop the spread of revolutionary ideas, mainly because it avoided talking about them. The consensus held at the time was that the Americans, the Haitians, and the French were just radical people who were against conservatism and religions. However, history didn't show this. In fact, history showed that every human wanted more rights and better living conditions. The impact of the Congress of Vienna were huge, since it set the stage for the war to end all wars, meaning World War I. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like this sort of content, please subscribe and leave a like on the video. I make similar content every week,